Hi guys. So a client sent over some files for mixing. Apparently they had some issues on capturing the drums on the day. It was a live project, so pretty much the drum recording is really bad. The following items were missing. The kick, the kick out was not there. The snare bottom was not there. The tom two and the floor tom were badly positioned, and there were no overheads. No overhead left, no overhead right. So I repeat, there are no overheads on this project. So they wanted the drums fixed, and I just thought of sharing the process. I think we're gonna try to make this drum sound great, but this is what we currently have. This recording. This is the kick that we have. I'm sure you can hear that flap. That's the snare that we have. Yeah, it's pretty much difficult to work with. The tom one is great. The tom two is not so great because we don't have body. I don't know if you can hear this, but there's no body on the tom two. So there's only that snap, and it's because the mic was probably pointing at the rim. You see that. This is the floor tom that we have. As you can see, the snare drum. The snare drum hits. These are the snare drum hits, and these are the floor tom hits. You can't see the difference. So the snare is as loud as the floor tom, and then the hi hats. These are the hi-hats that we have. They're pretty much great, and then there are no overheads on the project. So we need to get this drum right. So what we need to recreate is a second kick. We need to recreate the snare bottom. We need to recreate the tom two itself. We need to recreate the floor tom because it will be difficult to really gate this floor tom to perfection. Yes, you can do it, but you won't get the best results. And we need to make an overhead left and overhead right. So this is how we're going to start. We're going to start off by checking the toms, and as you can hear, the tom one has pretty significant bleed on it, same as the floor tom. This is usually a bad thing, but in this case it's great because now these we're going to turn into overheads. We're going to duplicate these tracks, the two of them. We're going to push them down. We're going to call these overhead left, and overhead right. So this is our overhead left, and this is our overhead right. So what we're going to do now is, the trick is, we're going to filter out the tom hits so that we remain with just the cymbals. So what we're going to do is, we're going to first start off with a multi-band compressor. Okay, we're going to take a multi-band compressor, check where the tom hits are. So we're just going to mute out these guys. Check where these tom hits are. We can just use. Okay, let's just space it out. Okay, good. So we're gonna look for this range here. Pretty much this range, we're gonna cut off every time the tom hits, and we're going to use our threshold wherever the tom doesn't hit. So if we check, this is the range where the tom is not hitting, so we're gonna use that as our threshold. And we're pretty much going to crush this to like -30, wherever. And the trick is, we're going to use a very fast attack and a very slow to medium release. The next thing we're going to do is look for the same frequency on the crack. That's usually around 1K, somewhere there. And we're going to do the same thing to that. Set our threshold. So pretty much we've filtered out the tom, but we still have the cymbal bleed. That's and that's what we. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is just put in. We wanna compress the signal, but we don't start by compressing. We're just gonna filter out unwanted frequencies. So I believe this is where the tom hits. So we're gonna kind of filter that out, and then we're good. We can let the compressor hit. So we're gonna use a very fast compressor as well, so that we really smash down on those transients. There we go. And then the next thing, we're going to do a corrective EQ. We're going to do the same thing to the overhead, right? We're just going to copy the same multiband compressor, just do an adjustment, obviously, because this is a floor tom. I'm going to use another equalizer. And you can hear there's that paper right there. Just going to filter that out. Pretty much we've got our overhead left and overhead right now. And the next thing that we're going to do is just do some corrective EQ here so that the two signals match. We didn't compress this guy, so we're going to just push the compressor there. This sounds louder, so we're just going to reduce the volume. And there we have it, we have our overhead. So when we're done doing any fixes on that same signal, what we're going to have is just going to do some corrective EQ, soothe, a Pultec EQ just to saturate those, and flatline to just do a soft clipping on that signal. And we're going to use this as our overhead. We're going to use this as our overhead signal. The next thing that we're going to do is start addressing the signal that came with the toms. So the toms themselves, the toms need fixing because they're not sounding the same. This is a good capture. This is a messed up capture. This is a messed up capture. So all we're going to do is we're going to clean out the ranges. Just clean out everything that you don't want. Clean it out. There's faster ways of doing this, but because we're on stream, I'm just gonna cut out the sections that we don't need, and I'm assuming those are, and this is a snare hit, so you're going to have to check this out and just make sure you have a tail on those guys. It's faster to do if you're using Studio One. You can simply use the signal clip meter here. You can just select which range that you want, apply, fix, and it will automatically, based on the settings here, automatically do those adjustments for you. But because our stuff was not captured well, you might have a few miss hits. Like this, it triggered the snare, but it didn't trigger the floor tom. You see that? So you just have to go back and check your signals. Once you're done with this, we're going to have to trigger our toms, and for the tom one, we'll try to keep it as dry as possible. So this is what I've already done. I've already cleaned up my toms and I've already triggered them. What I'm doing with the tom one is maintaining the cleanliness of the initial signal by using this mix meter here. So this is our trigger, but we also have a dry signal. So if you listen to this, this is the dry signal that we got, and then this is our trigger. So we're just gonna blend the two. Until we're happy. We're gonna do the same thing with the tom here. Just gonna make sure that we blend the two. This is our dry signal. It's pretty much just a snap, but we're gonna use that. And the same thing with our floor tom. Our floor tom is pretty much paper signal. This is what we have. We're just blending. And this is what we have. We've dealt with our toms. The next thing we're gonna do is fix our kick, and because our kick sounded great, just needed a few issues to do with the EQ, and we can deal with that by just using a simple equalizer, looking for where the unwanted frequencies are, boosting where really the kick is resonating, removing the paper. And pretty much boosting the life there. And then the next thing we're going to do is just duplicate this track and add a sample to this track. So I've already done that. This is my kick, this is the original, and then this is the sample that we have, and the combination of the two just gives us a kick that we want. The next thing we're going to do is deal with the snare drum, and the snare drum is pretty much a good recording, a standard recording, but we just need to do a couple of corrective EQs here and there, just filter out everything that we don't want. And because this is capturing a lot of high-end bleed, we're also going to just do a little filters here. Just gonna boost the resonant frequency, look for any frequency that we don't want. And this is what we want. And then what we're going to do is add a bunch of triggers and a bunch of samples so that we get the desired sound. We don't have a bottom snare, we don't have ring in the snare. If you can listen to the snare, the only place we have ring is here, right there. That's the ring that we have, and even then it's not as clean and crisp. So we're going to have to just look for samples that have that and complement them with the sample that we have. So in this case, we do have a snare. What I did is I have a snare sample here that has enough ring. I have another snare that has enough body in it, and then I have the main snare drum here. As it is, it's bleeding, and I'm okay with that. I also don't have a bottom snare, so I had to look for a bottom snare, and combined these items. And if you can listen closely, you still hear the bleed. So once we're done, our kit pretty much moves from this up to this. Thank you guys for watching.